Hey guys, it's Feeding Tube Awareness Week, which is kind of weird, but I thought I would take this week just to embrace it and just share with you guys what even is a tube feeder. What does that even mean? Well, first of all, I'm gonna probably use the word tubie in this video, and I'm just gonna go ahead and define that for you really quick. A tubie is just really what us people with tubes call ourselves. So I'm a tubie, and that's what we got about that. So anyway, I usually talk a lot about, my tubes are a big part of my life, which is weird to say, but it comes up in conversation a lot with my friends and family, and a lot of you, you don't see them, and it doesn't make sense because you don't see them, and that makes sense that it doesn't make sense. So anyway, I thought that it would be cool to just give you a little schooling on some tubing. So anyway, I'm gonna share with you today what I do with my physical feeding tubes, that what most people consider a feeding tube, and then maybe here in the next couple days, I think I'm gonna do another video on my pick line, and because that's actually where I get the majority of my nutrition is through TPN, and so I think that that's probably going to come on later this week. But I'm pretty pumped to kind of share what is a G tube, what is a J tube, because they're kind of weird, and a lot of people haven't ever seen them before, and I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but I'm going to show you. So if you're weirded out by that, you might want to pause this and turn it off. But it's not gross, I promise. They're just how I survive, and so I guess that's not super gross, right? So anyway, I have two feeding tubes, what most people would consider a feeding tube. Most people probably would call a pick line a central line, which is not, I don't know if they categorize it as a feeding tube or not, but anyway, so I have two in my actual abdomen. I have what's called a G tube, and that it goes into my stomach, and then I have a J button, which is tricky because it's not a tube, but we'll get there later, and it goes into my jejunum, which is the first section of your small bowel. Because your small bowel is really long. I'm not going to start throwing out numbers of feet long because I don't know exactly how many it is. But anyway, I actually use my tubes for... my J tube I use as a normal J tube. I feed into it. Now my G tube, my stomach tube, I actually use it for draining. If you've known me since I was a kid, you might remember me being I looked like I was pregnant a lot of the time because I had no way to decompress my stomach, which was always just so full of, you constantly produce bile and stomach acid, and you're just constantly producing that, and when you don't have an outlet to let it out, you just become like a balloon, and that's what I used to look like. And now, since I've gotten that tube, I'm able to look fairly normal. So that's pretty cool, and I love my G tube for that. It's not fun to have all the time, but for the most part, it's helped me significantly. So this is going to be the weird part where I show you my stomach, which is a little weird. But, so this is my G tube. And I have this thing on it because like I said, you're constantly producing stuff, and sometimes stomach acid will get out on my skin, and this thing absorbs it. So it's not that beautiful. But anyway, and then I have it taped because I don't like the feeling of it dangling around, because that's gross. And then this is my J button, so you can see that it looks different. It's not a tube. I've had a tube here before, but now it's a button, and I'm hoping to change back to a tube because I don't like my button, but that's okay. So that the tube one is the draining one, and then my J button is the one that I feed into, like I was saying. And I'm not going to show you what draining a G tube looks like because that's gross. But ultimately, what I do is I have this little tab thing, and I open it, and there goes the stomach acid and all the gross stuff. And there's my dog yawning. Look at him go. Anyway, But now I'm going to share with you what, what do I feed into my tube? Like, what do you put Doritos in there? For all you know, I crush up Doritos and put them in. But I'm going to show you what I do. So this is a bag for formula. So it's got all this tubing. This is the cassette that goes into the pump. So it's tubing, 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 tubing. And then here's the end of the tube. So what I do whenever I'm preparing to tube feed is I get a can of this. This is what I've been prescribed. So Nutrient 1.0, a lot of most formulas, I would assume, they have a number after them, and that's how many calories are in each milliliter. So I'm only able to tolerate 1 calorie per milliliter. There are 1.5s and 2.0s, and I'm sure there's other ones, but I don't know. But my gut is super slow and sensitive, and usually pretty mad, and so we just give it this is like, hey gut, just try to do a good job. So I stick with 1.0. I wish I could get so many more calories in, but that's okay. And so we shake this up. And this could get messy. Oh, hey, you want it? So good. So basically this, it's not any sort of health food or anything. My gut just has to, I can't have fiber in my formula because my gut hates that. Anyway, so I'm going to pour this into this bag. And sometimes it makes a mess, and that's the worst part of all of this. So this can has 250 mils in it, so if you do the math, that's 250 calories, which is like a Kit Kat, which sucks. I wish it was like 4 cheeseburgers worth, but that's okay. We can't pack all the calories in. So then what I'm doing right now is I'm like getting all the air out, because if I don't, my pump will tell me about it later. My pump beeps if there's any air in the line, and so that I don't pump air into my guts, which wouldn't feel very good later. So I guess that's nice, but so anyway, so I get all the air out, and then I put the little cap on, and then so in the feeding tube world, we're going through a transition of tubes because of some unfortunate events that have happened in hospitals with nurses attaching things such as a feeding tube situation to, like, for example, a PICC line. This is not safe to go into any sort of vein at all. Like, you just don't do that. And so the fact that they were able to attach the ending of a feeding tube bag to a PICC line was a little terrifying. I have no idea how they did it, actually, but they did, and there have been deaths, and so we're in a transition, which you probably didn't need all that information. But anyway, it's called the infant transition, and hopefully it goes well. But anyway, so we're in a transition phase, so this is the transition adapter, and I just threw it on the ground. But anyway, this is gonna one day fit onto the ends of feeding tubes. So right now we use this. It goes on the end. Then I have to put this, because I have a button, I have to have another adapter, because this is like it's like a key, kind of. It locks into my J tube, or my J button. So I put this on the end of this, and I try to get it as tight as I can. And then this is my infinity pump, and this is for tube feeding only. It does not do anything else. This doesn't do any kind of IV stuff or anything. So I put this little cassette into my pump like that, close the door, and it's really loud and annoying, and always am about to get really excited about this noise. Ooh, ears moved. Okay. And then what I have to do is I had to push this prime button. This is the actual worst part of tube feeding. I lied earlier when I said it was spilling. I have to hold this prime button, and you see the formula moving. Boo, 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 boo. So anyway, this happens for about ever. I'm just kidding. It doesn't take that long, but I'm actually not going to do it for the video because that's too much to deal with. So anyway, so we're going to pretend like I primed it. It's ready to go, right? So then you can see I have, well, it looks terrible on this screen, but anyway, this pump has where I can set the rate. So like I'm usually getting about 45 mils an hour just because my gut just will not tolerate much more than that. It'll hurt, crampy, ow, not fun. And then you set a dose. And so if I was gonna get this whole bag, which isn't that much, I need to have 2 cans in this, but I set the dose to 250 or 500 or however many cans, are in here, and then I just push go, and then what I do, I'm going to turn this off because it'll start beeping at us, but then I have a backpack, and I just got this backpack a couple weeks ago, and I love it so much. I use it both for TPN and for tube feeding, unless I'm feeling funky and want to use another backpack, which I've got. But anyway, so these Velcro straps are for TPN, so I have to kind of, actually I lied. I don't have to do this for tube feeding. I was thinking hydration. My bad. So basically I can just slip these suckers in here, or this one, whichever one wants to fit today. And I try to keep it as high up as I can so that I don't get any air bubbles in. And then I just put my little sucker in there. And we're going to pretend I've already done this. So look, this is how it connects to me. So this has a little door on it. Pop that top. And then it has a little, it's like a key kind of, and it just goes like this. And then it twists. Excuse me. And so then my tube is there. And my belly is letting stuff out. Anyway, then I tape my tube on, and then I'm good to go. And then also, what else I can do with this tube? Man, this video is getting long. Okay. So if I'm feeling really crummy, you're really not supposed to let things out of your jejunum, just because it's just not good for you. Like hydration wise, it'll dehydrate you and whatever. But sometimes I get to feeling really bad where I have to decompress my whole stomach. So sometimes I'll be decompressing through my stomach and through my intestine. And this is the tube, this is the attachment, I guess, that I used for that. So you can see that it's a little thicker and it's straight. It's not to the side like the other one, so it's a lot easier for things to get out. So that's a thing that I can do with my J button. And I also take medicines through it. I just brought this to remind myself to talk about that. I have to either crush up pills or I have to take the liquid. I can put liquid in. I don't take daily meds, just my TPN stuff, but if I do, like when your dentist is like, yeah, you need to take a round of antibiotics before doing it. And I'm like, yeah, so I get to crush up pills 3 times a day and put them in my tube. Are you sure I really have to do that? It makes taking medicine a little bit difficult, and so that's not fun, but that's okay. And then just flushing my tube, which, I can put water in to keep hydrated, or what have you, with a big old nice syringe like this one. I'm so sorry this is so long. I hope I can edit it down. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, or if I didn't address something that you think is important in the tubie world, feel free to let me know and we can talk about it. And hopefully I'll see you in a couple days with the TPN video, because that's way more fun than this one. Alright, thanks so much, you guys. Bye.